I actually started the film Once My Mother back in 1976 when I was a student at the film school. I knew there was an interesting story about my mother and I started shooting a documentary about her life.
Take 5, take 1, 6, take 1.
And then for various reasons I just lost interest and never actually finished the film. Just put it away and that was the end of it. I always knew that there was some really interesting story there about my mother's life. I'd grown up with my mother's story, so I knew she was not a normal mother, like my friends had normal mothers. So right from the beginning, as a student, I started exploring little aspects of my family life to turn into drama. And then once I'd graduated, that's the story I wanted to tell. I started my film Silver City.
Teaching? What sort of training have you had?
No, nothing. It was the war.
You didn't finish your secondary schooling? Gymnasium?
Ah, gymnasium. No. I was taken away to Germany, to Ravensburg, to work in a radiator factory.
Well, my dear, that's very sad, but you're not the only pebble on the beach.
Please?
I can only put you down for domestic work, factory work.
It was only at the later part of my life that I realised that I hadn't actually told the story of my mother's life properly in that film. And that's when I came back to thinking I really need to tell the real story. And then around about 2008, I started thinking about the film again. I think it was in response to seeing my mother's mental health deteriorating.
My daughter, he is somewhere, but they didn't come.
You know, I'm your daughter.
You?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I'm Sophia. And I pulled all the material out of the cupboards where I'd had them up in the attic. In fact, when I got all the material out of the attic cupboard, I wasn't sure that it was usable because the sound and the image were separate, and the sound had mould growing all over it. And I went into some sound guys and they looked at it and thought, oh, this may not work. Luckily, I'd had the original sound tapes and we found an old Nagra and played them. It ended up being fine to work with. And was amazed when I saw my mother coming to life because here she was in her 80s in 2008 and when I'd shot it she was in her 50s and articulate and vibrant on screen.
You know, I saw so many people on the street. Was that? I just jumping another side of the door today and I'm tomorrow.
And it was just astonishing to actually see my mother come to life on screen. And that's when I thought I just have to finish this film.
And I became involved in filming from 2010.
To będzie film.
Tak, no. Jestem busy, ale to jest bardzo taki ciekawy.
To big job.
To jest big job.
Ja chciała to robić.
No właśnie, tak, no chcę.
To producer jest w tym.
Tak. Mhm.
O boj.
No, i dużo ludzi będzie widzieli.
Tak?
I będą widzieć, jakie twoje życie było takie trudne. Ważny i trudny. No.
What attracted me to Once My Mother was it was about two people over the span of both of their lives. So we see Sophia from birth really in a refugee camp to becoming a mature woman reflecting on her life.
The greatest fear was putting myself in it because, to tell you the truth, I had to be dragged kicking and screaming onto the screen because it was much easier to tell my mother's story. But somewhere along the line I realised that I had to be in the story, that it really was about my relationship with my mother in the context of what had happened to her in her life.
One of the reasons why I really empathised with Sophia was because I'd also made a personal film with my family. And it's very tricky because there was two of me there. There was me and there was me, the filmmaker. And I could see that Sophia was also struggling with that. Uncle Gatsko, I'm your great nephew Rodney from Australia.
Рад видеть вас, моих близких родственников. Рад видеть вас, рад, что вы приехали, и рад, что вы, я человек без родственников, что вы посетили меня.
This is from a family. And so I was able to encourage Sophia along that path of saying, no, this film is about your mother and you. It's not just about your mother.
Once I decided that that was absolutely critical to the story, was actually a turning point, and I thought I just have to be in it as honestly as I could be.
I'm 16, making plans. One day I flee the home you've industriously made.
And through the extraordinary gift of the fact that Sophia filmed footage of her mother in 1976, we see Sophia's mother over the period of her whole life. So it's two women throughout their whole lifespan, and a very deep reflection and a very personal reflection. So that's what really attracted me to produce Once My Mother.